Bonaducci, and you are watching Gov's Radio. This is where you go if you want to see something or if you want to hear something funny. Coming up in just a couple minutes. This is a joke I told. What? I'm not on Gov Radio? Call the police. Call my agent. Hi, I'm Danny Bonaducci.
Tony, welcome to Go.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
I gotta pat you down though, pal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Got anything on you? Anything I should know?
I got nothing.
Anything weird going on? What? Alright, you go in, Tony. Good.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tom Kelly of The Tom Kelly Show. Yes, this is not the only time I've gotten on my knees in the back room of a comedy club.
The Knockem Dead Comedy Radio Show is also brought to you by Two Eagles Auto Body. For more than 25 years, Two Eagles Auto Body has been the leader in auto body repairs and customer satisfaction on Long Island. Two Eagles Auto Body handles every type of auto repair from custom applications and restorations to repairs involving insurance claims. Give Two Eagles Auto Body a call and please ask for John Rossi at 516-328-2527. That's 516-328-2527.
Hey, how do you say there, people? It's Johnny Brennan, creator of the Jerky Boys, also of Fox TV's Family Guy fame. I just want to let you know you're listening to Tony on the Knockem Dead Radio Show. They're gonna keep knocking them dead, so keep listening, you wacky sons of bitch. Right there. Over and out there, sweet Charlie.
Long time no see, man. Hey, man, I miss you guys, man, at Knockem Dead Comedy Radio.
Hey Tony, you're not funny, and you probably shit yourself a lot, and you're no fun to be with, and you don't make that much money, and you're not going anywhere in show business, and I hope you get hit by a bus.
friend. Knockem dead. Knockem dead. Comedy show.
Throughout my career, I've met a lot of different people. This one right here used to headline Chuckles and Eastside and all these clubs. If you remember Claudia Sherman, Google her, she used to come out with a wedding dress and talk about how her wedding went all awry and this and that. She is here, when a comedian comes to see another comedian, that is the biggest honor a comedian can get. And I'm honored that you're here tonight.
I love Claudia. Claudia Sherman, back in the day, was a great stand-up comic. We used to do all the clubs around the tri-state area, Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, all the clubs. Governors in Levittown. It's going to be a phenomenal night at Governors in Levittown.
Hi, I'm Claudia. I'm with the Down Out.
It's called the Down and Out, and she's doing a show in the Giggle Room. When are you doing that? October 5th.
Governors in Levittown. Go to govs.com for your tickets.
With the Down Out.
A lot of great comedians, a lot of laughter, good food. Governors in Levittown, get your tickets now. Govs.com.
Throughout my career, I've met a lot.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to the Knockem Dead Comedy Show. It is Thursday, September 11th. Let's see, just getting myself set up here. So welcome to the Knockem Dead Comedy Show. We're coming at you live from the legendary Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, and we're on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. That is the name of the Facebook page. That is the name of the YouTube channel. Please, if you're on Facebook, please follow the page. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the page. No matter which page you're on, please share the link. And tell everybody you know about all the great shows here on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. If you'd like to take part in today's show and hear your name read, hear your comment read, maybe even you'd like to call in. But if you're commenting, please do so on the YouTube feed, because that is where we're monitoring the comments. That is on the YouTube channel. So if you want to comment, and I hope you do, because I'm by myself today, so I can use all the comments and phone calls. If you'd like to comment, please, we'd appreciate it if you switch over to the YouTube feed, because that is where we monitor the comments. Appreciate that very much. So welcome to the show, everybody. Hope everybody's well. So I'm going to need your help today. All right, well, first off, best wishes to Mike Kaplan. Mike usually sits with me on Wednesdays. His mother is going, she's got some health stuff going on. So Mike is with her right now. And so we wish Mike all the best. We wish his mother the best, his family. Hope everybody's okay. So, and as of now, Mike will be back with us next Wednesday. So I need your help. So the plan today was to sit and talk to Mike about 9/11 for a few different reasons. One, I don't think Mike's been hosting. I don't think he has been hosting with me on Wednesdays for a year. So I don't think we ever talked about 9/11 together. Mike, is a military veteran, and he actually signed up to do a second tour after 9/11. Like in response to 9/11. So I was going to talk to him about that. Mike just canceled on me this morning. I don't know, around 8:30 this morning. So I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare other stuff to talk about. Plus, I don't know. I wanted to talk about 9/11 with Mike because I don't know. I feel weird talking about. I feel weird joking around on 9/11. It's a weird thing, right? I mean, I can, on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, I can joke around. On the anniversary of, Martin Luther King, I can joke around. Like certain holidays, I can, do my thing. But I think because 9/11 happened in my day, your day, a lot of our day, I think. I just find it hard to joke around because 9/11 happened in my lifetime, and pretty much all of yours. So it's kind of a weird thing. I just don't feel right about it. I feel it's disrespectful, and I've been told I should. I just have a hard time doing it. Plus, this show we've talked about drug addiction. Just yesterday, we talked about cancer. So cancer yesterday, 9/11 today. So it's a cheerful week. But fortunately, I have free reign in here, and I mean we spotlight on comedy. I would say 90% of the time is comedy based, but once in a while we kind of go off of it and do real honest stuff, pure stuff, and I just think this day is one of those days. But I don't know. You guys tell me. Should I talk about other things and try to joke around, or I honestly don't feel comfortable doing that, but I will if you guys feel that's what I should do. Usually on this day, since I've been doing this show, we do talk about it every year. I think it was our very first year. Or it might have been our second year. I forget now, but we had Bobby Sen in here. He's a retired New York City fireman who was in both towers when they collapsed. He's a Hicksville native. I've known him since I was a teenager. When he came in, he actually came in on 9/11. Yeah, it was either 2018 or 19. I forget exactly what year it was. But, and I took a risk in asking him because I figured, all firemen, they're going to be off at their memorials today doing different things. Even this morning when Mike canceled, I considered, all right, what fireman do I know? Maybe I'll get somebody in here. But I just figured I'm not going to bother them last minute on the morning of when they're probably all going to memorial services. So anyway, when I asked Bobby to do it, he said he'll come in. He said he couldn't come in at 11 because he was going to memorials. He asked if he can come in at 9, so we actually did start at 9 that day. Like a special time. The Coffee with the Dog wasn't with us yet, so we had the time free. So Bobby came in, but he ended up staying. He changed his mind. He came in and Dr. Mark Lerner came in as well. He's a therapist, but him and Bobby, they developed a stage show where they talk about his 9/11 experience and they just talk about PTSD and just talk about all traumatic instances and how the importance of therapy, the importance of talking. So anyway, so they came in and Bobby, they were both just enjoying it and found it to be a good way to talk about that horrible day. So they ended up staying here until 1 o'clock. We did 4 hours that day with them. And I just think it was one of our best shows. It was open, it was honest, and it was just a good discussion. So it doesn't always have to be funny. Doesn't always have to be a comedian. So, and Bobby's just a great guy, with or without 9/11. So, so I remember when we did that show, I remember feeling like we did the right thing, So every year I try to just remember that day. I knew a few people that were in the building in the buildings. People that I'm connected to had family or friends in there. I mean, and I think that goes for everybody, right? Especially if you're here in New York. We're also connected to it. All right, so let me read comments. You guys tell me what you think. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it for the whole show. I'm here by myself, so please fill me up with comments I can read. If people want to call in, the number's on the screen. It's right there. If 516-465-3990. 516-465-3990. You want to talk about 9/11? You want to talk about something else? I'll do whatever you guys want to do. Carol, I know Carol had some close friends in there. Good morning, John Rusciello. Ken Pichelle remembers that. Ken Pichelle, I think, is one of the – you and Fremder, I think, are one of the few people that have stayed with us all this time since this show has been on. We've had – we go through time, spur of time there where we get regular listeners and they all kind of tail off. We get a new bunch, and I wish we all had them all, but we're trying. I do believe that was, like I said, one of our best shows. Vicky, Bobby was always a hero to me, even in high school. Really? Carol says, Day of Remembrance. Absolutely. I saw, Carol, you posted this morning. Carol, you had two guys that I know of, at least two guys from your class in Hicksville that were there. I lost, in my class, I think there's one that I know of. And then the class ahead of me, they lost, I think, 2 or 3. My brother's class, my brother's 3 years older than me, he lost, I think, 2, I forget. But, lots of, and again, I think if you're from New York, that's the case with all of us. We all can sit back and say, I have a connection to this guy or this one, or I knew that one. Good morning, Ann. Thanks for joining us. Fremder, where's my most dedicated listener worst comment award? What would you like, Fremder? What would you like? Would you? I'll draw you a picture of Batman. Would you like that? Next time you come in here, I will gladly draw you a picture of Batman. How about that? So, and John Rusciello, what's your story? You were already retired at that point, right? If I remember right, you retired in 2000? But I'm sure you were still active at the time. So I'm sure you knew a ton of people involved in it. And I don't know if maybe you were around or helping out or doing something. Let's see, Carol. Mark Caleo, yep. Stephen Caleo and Tommy Pedicini. One of my best friends. Whoops. Oh, all right. Carol, I'll get back to the comment. I lost it because John is calling. He doesn't call on the regular line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you? Let me shut up my radio here. No, Tony, I was down there for 26 days, but that's neither here or there. I want to mention something that's amazing. And what's amazing about it is we all lost people down there. I lost a couple of good colleagues and friends. But do you know how many children of the perished law enforcement and first responders are now cops and firemen because of their father and mother that got lost in 9/11?
Is that right? It's a high number?
It's just amazing.
Wow.
It really is. It really is. And I'm partial to the New York City Police Department, obviously.
Of course.
But the New York City Police Department is doing the greatest thing in the world. They're giving them their fathers and mothers shields. And that's a big thing with a cop, as you very well know.
Yes.
And I think it's the most wonderful thing that, as fucked up as this city has been for the last 25 years, they still remember the small things. It is the highest honor for you get your father's shield or your mother's shield and wear it. And all these kids are going, they're college graduates, they can get better jobs if they want to, but decide to become cops and firemen and any kind of first responder, because half of them didn't know their father. Half of them were 1 or 2 years old when their father and mother perished.
Right.
So it's just an amazing thing, the dedication and the camaraderie of we should never forget. And
go ahead. Sorry. No. Please go ahead.
No. And of all the civilians that were lost, we always talk about the cops and the firemen, and yes, we lost great guys, but all the civilian families that were destroyed because of the tragedy that occurred. Thousands and thousands of people, like you just said, you had friends that you went to high school with. They're not recognized as much as the first responders, and they should be recognized. Just the pain and the sorrow that those civilians went through, I saw personally, as well as you did and everybody else did, and all the funerals and all the anguish that they went through. And now some of them becoming cops and firemen because of this. It's just heartwarming.
Well, yeah, it is. That's in a strange way. That's almost that's kind of like a nice positive thing out of all this, to see that kind of to see that they're doing it right, giving out the shields, and then the kids, becoming, they're children of heroes, and then they become heroes themselves. So that's again, that's definitely a positive that we can take out of that. This whole disaster. So that's fantastic. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something I didn't know that they gave the shields out, and I didn't know that the number was high of the children. So these are excellent points. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, well, and on a lighter note, your buddy shit the bed again, huh?
Yes, he did.
That's your friend Kaplan, boy. I tell you.
Hey, it just gives us something else to pick on him about next week.
Oh, he called me up last night and said, "I'm not making the show." Well, what do you got? A hangnail? What do you got to get a pedicure? I mean, Jesus Christ Almighty! Thank God you're a better friend to him than I am, because I cursed him out. And I hung up the phone on him. I said, "Well, what possibly?" The only excuse he could have in not missing your show was to visit his mother, because his mother's not doing well, as you know.
Right. Yes.
All right, and that's. But I said, "Is Mom all right?" Yeah. Well, I got man. And I hung up the phone on him. Unbelievable.
There have been a few times I've asked him in the past to jump in to do a murder mystery with us, and then he'll, 2 or 3 weeks in advance he'll back out. And there have been times I yell at him. I'm like, Mike, I said, you're killing me. I said, you're backing out on a last minute notice. And I've said a few times, said, Mike, I'm not asking you anymore. And then here I am. He's doing one with me at the end of the month, and then hopefully he's doing another one with me next month. I'm just a sucker and an idiot.
Let me tell you something. It's 8 to 5. That he ain't gonna make it. So his track record is not the greatest in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you, that's your buddy. You know, and the only good thing he's done since I've been down in Florida, and I know you hate. Oh, that's another thing I want to tell you about. Stop knocking Florida, you fuck. All right, Florida's the greatest state in the world. You people, listen, and you people from Long Island can't consider yourself New York City, New Yorkers. You're not New Yorkers. You're Long Islanders. I was a Long Islander. Okay, you won.
I'm going to disagree with that.
Well, you can disagree all you want. Listen,
Long Island is in New York.
How many governors that you know in Long Island that disrespected and forgot about Long Island? Because
plenty.
the governor, I'm sorry?
Plenty.
So it just goes to show you, I live in New York. No, you don't. You live in Long Island. If you live in New York, just like upstate, just like, 5 boroughs in New York, that's it. Case closed. All right. All you fancy people that live in Nassau County, or I live in Suffolk County, and you just have a New York State. You're a New York State resident. You have nothing to do with the city, nor you should have anything to do with the city.
You see, no, that's completely wrong. Because, first off, whether the governor forgets us or not, we still share the governor. So, and we're still in the same state. So we're New Yorkers. Now, to say though that we have nothing to do with the city. Half of the island is commuting to the city every day. Half the island is paying city taxes because they work in the city.
Well, that's because you can't make a decent living on Long Island. I mean, what are you going to do on Long Island, for Christ's sake?
Right, but I'm saying that connects us to the city, though. You're saying we have nothing to do with the city, and I'm saying that reason connects us.
Okay, in that respect, yes. But as far as you can't consider yourself New Yorkers. I'm sorry. You just can't unless you came from the five boroughs and migrated out to Long Island, which I did, by the way.
Well, right. My grandparents did. So does that count?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's grandparents. It's 2 generations away, for Christ's sake. No. I left the South Bronx. I went to Brooklyn from the South Bronx.
Yep.
When that neighborhood got shitty, I moved out to Long Island, which was, by the way, when I was a kid, we had relatives out in Long Island. I had an uncle that had a farms in Yaphank.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake, I thought I needed a passport to go out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a whole other world, yeah.
Oh, that was before the LIE was even built out there. And you had to take, I think it was Sunrise Highway. I forget what it was.
Yeah,
Montauk Highway.
Yeah,
Montauk Highway.
And speaking of which, when I asked you if you knew my family, you mentioned Joanne. That is my mother's cousin, Joanne LePew.
Wow, there you go. So there you go. Yes, she's. I'm familiar with Joanne.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. But anyway, I'm sorry you have to do the show alone, but you do a better job anyway because he does nothing but look at it with his sour puss on the camera. And they make those stupid jokes. You're better off without him.
He had no choice. Jackie was in here last week. Jackie never shuts up. So Mike didn't really he didn't get a good opportunity. And then when he did have an opportunity, he talked about how he picked on Joey Cola. And then so these guys were like, no, that was awful what you did. And I think I think Mike took that a little. I think he took that to heart a little bit.
Oh, well, forget about it. Look at Andy Vajanos. The first time Andy Vajanos is agreeing with me. I totally agree with John about how Long Islanders call themselves New Yorkers. This is a banner day.
You know you're in trouble. You know you're in trouble when Andy Vajanos agrees with something you said.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad my nurse is going to come. She's going to take my blood pressure. I think there'd be something wrong with me.
Right. I'd be worried. If Andy agreed with me on something, I'd be worried about myself.
Oh, my God. Andy, all right? If you listen, I'm sure you're listening, Andy, all right? Don't make a habit of this because I really don't like you. I love you guys. I love you guys.
Love you, pal. And thank you for what you did on 9/11. I know you don't like that kind of stuff, but I'm thanking you anyway.
No. You just remember this. That when we responded there, that was our job. I was ordered to respond there. The civilians that lost their lives, they were innocent people.
Yep.
And they are the real heroes. They for years and years and years and years that have gone by, and I don't think they got any compensation. I don't know what the story is, but you got to remember the civilians.
Yep, absolutely.
Talk to you later.
Thanks, pal.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Excuse me. All right, I'll talk more about that in a second. I just want to, because I didn't finish Carol's comment because of the phone call. Mark Caleo, Stephen Caleo, Tommy Pedicini, one of my best friends, and Walter Weaver, both class of '89. Yeah, Tom Pedicini was one of your best friends. I knew Walter Weaver kind of well. We did lose touch a little bit after high school, but I did see him off and on a little bit through the years. I actually just saw him about a month before. Yeah, he was a good guy, Walter Weaver. Fremder, is it me or does John Rusciello sound like Tony Soprano? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Andy Vajanos, I totally agree with John about how Long Islanders call themselves New Yorkers. So let me guess, because Andy, you're in Suffolk, you consider yourself a Long Islander, but you probably call yourself a New Yorker too because you spend time in Queens. Like you of course stand above all this. I'm gonna punch you, Ken Pichel. Cue up some soft Downeaster Alexa background music for this discussion here. Is there no island left? Oh, that's funny. That's good, Ken. Good morning, Mickey Delaney. Hope you're well, pal. Yeah, that was an excellent point that John brought up. Well, a few points. I think he's right. We don't talk about the civilians as much. Although, I will mention, and I had it planned out here. So if you look at this picture, excuse me, obviously that's me on one end. On the other end with the Yankee jersey, that is Captain Jack, Jack Scala, who was a regular visitor on our show until he passed away. Was that last year or the year before? Jeez, I'm forgetting them. I think it might be 2 years. It's coming up on 2 years, I think. But that's him. Jack was a regular guest on our show here and a regular viewer, and we loved him. In the middle, there is Eric Felon. Eric was on. He came in here once. A few years ago. In fact, I think he actually did come in with Jack. So anyway, yeah, that's Eric in the middle. And the reason I'm showing you this picture is because here in this picture from 9/11, that's Eric in the blue shirt. If I have my story right, he did not know this woman. He was just running like everybody else was. And forgive me, I don't remember if he worked. I don't know if he worked at World Trade or he was just working nearby or walking. I don't, forgive me, that I'm not clear on. But obviously, he was right there. You can tell there he's, full of smut and crap from the smoke. And he was running and he grabbed this woman and helped her get out of there as well. And, yeah, this picture's been floating around the internet. So he's a hero in my book. I don't know Eric terribly well, but I know him well enough to know that he's a nice guy. Little bit of a Billy Joel fanatic. As you can see, he's got that license plate that it says Joel fan. So that's a little scary. But no, he's a good guy. And Ken Pichel, I'm sure you know him too. He's a perfect example of what John's talking about. Just a hard-working, honest guy trying to support his family. Goes into work one day and ends up experiencing that crap. And but he got out safely, thank goodness. He was able to help that poor woman. I don't know, who else he helped or what else he did that day. But yeah, he's a perfect example of what John's talking about, remembering the civilians. And yeah, there were definitely plenty of them, and so many stories like that. People just helping each other and people being there together. Tony, it's not like Andy likes to stir us all up or anything. I know, Ken. I know. C. Jack with an original Songs from the Attic shirt. Oh, I didn't even notice what he's wearing. Melissa's shirt. Yeah, Billy Joel Songs from the Attic. Yeah, remember we had Melissa Boileau. She was another guest we had on this show once. Actually, maybe twice. She used to have a radio show up in Syracuse, a Billy Joel radio show. Sally and I went up there once and guest DJ'd with her. Melissa's great. And, yeah, that's the shirt that Jack was wearing there. Cool. Goodness, I remember that picture of Eric, says Ken Pichel. Yeah. Yes, I know Eric a bit. Yeah, Ken, he's he's one of those, like, freaky Billy Joel fans. Like, you want to tell him, hey, calm down a little bit. It's funny, and I know this is going to sound a little corny, but in all seriousness, sometimes you look at a guy like Eric Felon, you see, what was that? I think somebody's knocking. Hang on, I'm going to put some music on, and I'll go answer the door. Right. Okay, sorry about that. I was hearing all sorts of knocking, and then I thought I heard a voice of somebody yelling hello, and I knew the back door here was locked, so I thought I was hearing things. But I kept hearing it, and then I didn't know if it was somebody, looking to come in here, because it was coming right out from right on the other side of this wall next to me. So I went out. I don't know. Somebody came walking into the kitchen. I guess the back door in the kitchen was open or something, and the guy didn't speak English, so I couldn't understand him. So I went and found Larry, one of the owners, and I dumped it on him. So he's dealing with it. And then I put on that, happy, jumpy music. But it was all I had. It was all I had lined up in my template here. Sorry about that. All right, so where were we? Melissa's show is How I Met Tony and Sally. That's right, Ken. That's right. Well, right. So that's the point I was making before this happened. I don't know. Sometimes, as silly as it may sound, but you take something like music, or you take something like a Facebook group, and that's you may, whether it's a sports team, a band, or some kind of hobby, you meet people through your interests and you become friends, and I don't know. To me, that's what it's all about. And I think something like 9/11, teaches us that. I think I did 10 minutes last night with the damn debate, and I couldn't do it. I had to turn it off. I don't like either one of them, to be honest. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't like either one of them. I think debates are bullshit. I think it's all about, who can make the biggest headline with the biggest quip, the biggest wise-ass remark. I can't stand, one's talking and attacking the other, and the other one's sitting there making their faces. And I'm talking about both of them. I am not picking one side. I don't like either one of them. And to me, it's moments, things like debates, and then you see them at the end, I don't know if they did it last night, but most debates, when it's over, they shake hands, they smile at each other, sometimes even whisper something to each other. Sometimes I think we're all just being made fools of, and the whole thing is just, both sides, I think, behind closed doors are laughing at us because they're distracting us with stupid shit while they're, just helping themselves and their friends make money. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on. I don't want to get all political, but it does bother me that they did it last night, because today, in the aftermath, that's all we're going to talk about, and I think it's ridiculous. I think we should be respecting and remembering 9/11. I don't think we should be sitting here talking about those two morons last night picking on each other. They should have. They should have had their debate, I don't know, last Tuesday, or have it tomorrow night. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like either one of them, and I think it's a shame that's I don't know. That's what we're. What have we learned? Since 9/11, we all came together. When we at that time when we really needed to. When Hurricane Sandy hit, and again, I'm talking, New York, because that's where I'm experiencing life. But I guess you could take something like Katrina. I'm sure they all came together down there in the New Orleans, Florida, wherever it was heavily impacted. I'm sure, people come together, and that's the stuff we should be focusing on. There are good people out there doing good things. And I was even looking this morning. 9/11, the public largely set aside political differences and rallied in support of the nation's major institutions as well as its political leadership. In October 2001, 60% of adults expressed trust in the federal government, a level not reached in the previous 3 decades, or the numbers aren't even close to that since. And you felt it. I remember with 9/11, the biggest headlines, were, Britney Spears, and the Osbournes and stupid shit like that. Well, maybe not the Osbournes, but shit of that level. You know what I'm talking about. And 9/11 happens, and unfortunately, it took something as catastrophic as that to get us to really see straight and to get us to come together and forget about stupid political lines and political stances. And we need to go back to that line of thinking, that attitude. Today, it's almost robotic. You know, people have to, you either have to be Republican or Democrat. You don't go by individual issues anymore. You know, I wish there was a better way to vote on issues and not just one person. You know, or we're all voting based on our political affiliation. We're not looking at issues anymore. We're just voting on, I'm registered with this party, I'm voting for that person. That's all it comes down to. And forgive me if I'm talking out of my ass, because maybe I am. Because past few years I've kind of stopped watching the news a little bit, and I don't pay attention as much because I don't want to. I want to pay attention to the good stuff that's going on, because there's a lot of good stuff, and maybe that's naive and foolish. I don't know, but but I go around life, I think, a lot happier. George W. Bush, who had become president 9 months earlier after a fiercely contested election, saw his job approval rise 35 percentage points in the space of 3 weeks. And get this, in September 2001, after the attacks, 86% of adults, including nearly all Republicans, 96%, and a sizable majority of Democrats, 78%, approved of the way Bush was handling his job as president. 86% of adults. I mean, that's almost unheard of. 96% Republicans, 78% Democrats. I mean, and we thought things were crazy when Bush was president. Look at it now. I think some of us would love to go back to the Bush days. Well, obvious jokes set aside. We thought it was bad back then. Now, that seems normal compared to the social media world that we live in. Social media existed then too, but it wasn't as widespread as it is now. 86% of adults. And get this, and I'm kind of, this might be a sticking point here, but Americans also turned to religion and faith in large numbers. In the days and weeks after 9/11, most Americans said they were praying more often. In fact, I did. I looked it up this morning. You just see churches were just mobbed. The day of the attacks and a few days after. In November 2001, 78% said religion's influence in American life was increasing, more than double the share who said that 8 months earlier. In many ways, the 9/11 effect on public opinion was short-lived. Public trust in government, as well as confidence in other institutions, declined throughout the 2000s. By 2005, following another major national tragedy, what happened in 2005? The government's mishandling of the relief effort for victims of Hurricane Katrina. Okay. Just 31% said they trusted the federal government, half the share who said so in the months after 9/11. Trust has remained relatively low for the past 2 decades. In April of this year, only 24% said they trusted the government just about always or most of the time. Yeah, that's sad. And I'm not saying we should be trusting the people in charge, but I'm just saying it's a shame. Whatever the reason is, whether it's the people in charge or whether it's us, whatever the reasoning is, it's definitely just a shame that we can't find the trust, that we're not coming together like we did at a time like 9/11. And I hope it doesn't take another 9/11 type tragedy for us to wake up and get back to that point. And even religious or in regards to faith. Again, we can sit here and talk about religion all, round and round, but I think to have faith, it will at least, I think it's just a good motivation to make you do good things. and to have a positive outlook and just to come together more. I don't know. I'm probably just rambling. Let me read some comments. Carol, did you know that they have Walter's revolver found at Ground Zero in the 9/11 Museum? No, I did not know that. I am ashamed to admit that I have not been at the museum. And I don't even know. My mother would know, but I have, or had. I had a cousin that was, she was like kind of like one of the bigwigs there. I don't know if she still is. But honestly, it's not a cousin. It's actually it's my second cousin. Actually, it's a child of one of my first cousins. I mean, I could call my cousin and say, "Hey, can you tell my daughter can you tell your daughter I'm coming to the museum? Can she put me on a list or something?" But because I don't think the girl herself who works there would know who I am. But yeah, I have family there, and I don't even I've never been there. But no, I did not know they had Walter's revolver there. That actually makes me want to go there even more. Camp Michelle, Melissa connected you to KDC. Very nice. So she's to blame. You've been mad at her ever since. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. That was good, Fremder. That was the ghost of Kaplan. No, Kaplan haunts us just fine on his own. He doesn't need a ghost. Fremder, the bald eagle needs both wings to cooperate in order to fly successfully. Maybe it's time to change our country's mascot. No, let's not change the mascot. Let's go with the first part of that. I like that, by the way. The bald eagle needs both wings to cooperate in order to fly successfully. Yeah, we need both wings working. People like Tony Walker doing good things. Well, thanks, Mickey. Fremder, I firmly believe that both parties are in bed together and world leaders have poker night with good cop, bad cop. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I really am, and I hate to say that. Yep, there's the Bush joke. Carol, I have never been myself either. Still too painful for me. Yeah, it's tough. And then and you mentioned Pedicini, and then his poor sister committed suicide. What was that? Maybe 5 to 10 years ago, give or take. Yeah, and same thing. I saw her just a few months before she did what she did. It's terrible. It's just really a shame. And yeah, we we need to just get back to some core values and really we need to get back to what's really important. And we just need to stick together, man. It's sad. You remember that, like, remember the week or two, like, after the attacks, just the whole climate of the world was just so weird. Like, it was weird getting back to normal. You didn't want to get back to normal. All right, so let's see. Excluding the hijackers, the attacks killed thousands of people. Well, still thousands, including the hijackers. Injured thousands more and gave rise to substantial long-term health consequences while also causing at least $10 billion in infrastructure and property damage. Wow. And yeah, there's one guy from my class who just died maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, it was all 9-related issues. It remains the deadliest terrorist attack in history, as well as the deadliest incident for firefighters and law enforcement personnel in American history, killing 343 and 72 members, respectively. What does that mean? What, killing 343 that day and then 72 since? Is that what that means? The loss of life stemming from the impact of Flight 11 made it the most lethal multi-plane crash in aviation history, followed by the death toll incurred by Flight 175. The destruction of the World Trade Center and its environs seriously harmed the U.S. economy and induced global market shocks. Yeah. Yeah, and then again, the new normal, right? I mean, thankfully, there's been no terrorist attacks on U.S. soil like this. But I mean, think about it, right? Going to airports and the security checks and going to a concert or a ball game, you got to wait on these long lines now so they can do the metal detection and all that stuff, and emptying your pockets into the baskets. It's before pre 9/11, you could walk into Citi Field, Shea Stadium rather. Sorry, you can walk into Shea Stadium. You can walk into Madison Square Garden. It wasn't like that. And that whole that whole thing, anytime you're traveling, anytime you're doing something special or different, or anything that requires a mass amount of people, that's right. It's on your mind. It's on your mind. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in. It's a rough day, and I understand you're feeling that maybe it's not a great day for jokes, but a day to reflect, and I agree with that.
Okay,
so,
good. Thank you.
I called the number, but it just kept ringing, but I figured you might want to keep them off just because of certain aspects.
Well, yeah, no, it's showing. I do have it on. Maybe I just didn't see it because I turned the volume down for obvious reasons. That way, yeah. But I moved the phone. It's actually right in front of me so that I can see with the sound down. I can see that people are calling, but maybe I just wasn't looking. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I figure it's probably safer that way, but
yeah, true.
But yeah, today is one of those days where it's like where we think about our parents when they said, I remember when JFK was shot, or our grandparents. I remember about Pearl Harbor,
right?
And I think everybody can remember this day, wherever they were, and how impactful it was. I mean, being a New Yorker / Long Islander, since my grandparents were in Queens and I was there all the time, and growing up in Hicksville, you just, seeing the Twin Towers, I think we took it for granted. It was just an amazing sight to see when you would cross over, even the Throgs Neck and going, my family's from the Bronx, and seeing that, and I remember before I moved out of New York, one of my girlfriend's brother, he had asked me, he's like, well, where do you want to go that you've never been to? And I said, I've never been to the top of the Twin Towers. And he said, really? So he goes, come on, we're going to go. And we took off one early morning and drove in from the Bronx and went to the Twin Towers. And it was the first time I'd ever been on the top.
Wow.
And I just remember how quiet it was. And it just, to be able to see, you could see everything, because, when you go to the top of the Empire State Building, you're not at the very top, because at the very top is a very small thing. You walk around, there's a cement pillar in the middle.
Yes, right.
And it's, so it was so surreal. And then, Tommy worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. And he got the job because his brother-in-law, Mark Kaleo, was working there. And he got Stephen a job, his brother.
Right.
And Tommy was living in Pittsburgh. And Tommy and I lived in Pittsburgh at the same time. Tommy and I met. We were at nursery school together.
Oh,
Carousel.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how far back.
Wow.
We were in the same class. And then we were in the same class in Old Country Road for many, many years, until they start separating the smart kids from the dumb kids. Where Tommy would be in the smart people, that section. And I was in the one that wasn't so smart. I always tell myself, I just didn't apply myself. I was too busy and social. So,
I hear you.
But we lived in Pittsburgh at the same time, because my ex-husband was he was a pilot for US Air Express. after we first got married, and we were based in Pittsburgh. And Tommy went to University Pitt on a gymnastics scholarship, and we always called each other through everything. Like, we never lost contact, never, ever. We were each other's first real boyfriend, girlfriend. We were each other's first real kiss. Ooh. So in 6th grade, and then in 7th grade, we tried dating again, and we just realized, like, we're just really great friends. And he was always over my house because he, as you know, he had 3 older sisters.
Right.
And they gave him a lot of hell. Anytime he'd be on the phone, they'd be like, we need to get on the phone. Every time he's like, I gotta get off the phone. But he lived so close to me in the B section, he would just get on his bike and come over, and he'd hang out with my brothers, and he thought it was the best thing because it was like hanging around with boys. My one brother gave him a nickname because his last name's Pedicini, which means Littlefoot, and Tommy wasn't very big. Right. In Italian, it means Littlefoot. So he loved hanging around with my brothers, and my brother Adam used to call him Pupacini. He thought it was the funniest thing ever, and I'm like, really? This is funny to you? So, we always were all together, James Kneisel, Willie Snedden, we were always like, they were always at my house. Yeah. We would always be, and Billy Ryder too, it was just so that day, I had just seen Tommy in July. I had come up with Zach, and we were staying at my grandparents in Queens, and he was working for Cantor Fitzgerald, and he was living in Woodside with some roommates. And he got off work really late, and he's like, oh, I'll be there. And he wanted to see Zach because he hadn't seen Zach since he was a baby. And it was July 2001, and he came to pick me up, and I'm like, listen, dude, it's 9:00 at night. And he goes, well, I only get started at 9. I'm like, okay, I'm a mom now. Like, this is not how I get, like, 9:00 is I'm getting close to going home. Right. So we went out and did karaoke, and went to the bar, and we had the greatest time. And growing up, Tommy was always, he was a singer, and he was so talented. And he, in 2nd grade, I'll never forget, our teacher, Mrs. Nisiforo, at Old Country Road School, wound up, the first day, because most teachers played piano, and she, back then, and she was like, anybody learn anything over the summer, any songs? And I actually was sent to a Jewish day camp by my grandparents because they felt like, they need a little more in their life. We need these hoodlums looked after. And so I said, yeah, that's when Annie was like big. And so she said, well, sing the song. And I got up and sang the song. And she was like, oh my God, that's a perfect song. And every teacher always loved Tommy because he was such a brown noser, and he was such a good kid. Yeah, so they just fell in love with him. And he for our talent show, she had him get up, and she said, "You'd be perfect to sing that song in for the talent show." So in 2nd grade, it is etched into my mind him standing on stage, and he was little. So he was in a suit, and he had his hands in his pockets, and he sang Tomorrow, and just brought the house down. And it was, I can almost still hear him. And at his memorial service in Hicksville, his mom actually had that recording and played it. And I bawled like I've never bawled before. I bet. Wow. Because, I had just received the day before, believe it or not, I left pictures in his car the night we went out and sang karaoke. I left pictures in his car. And so every month, and Tommy was kind of a ditzy guy. So I'd be like, dude, I forgot these pictures in the car, send them to me. And he'd be like, yeah. And finally, I'm like, dude, they're going to melt in your car since you never use your car. Can you send them to me? And September 10th, I got a FedEx package, and it was from Cantor Fitzgerald, and it was from Tommy, and it was my pictures in it, and it was a birthday card for Zach, because fortunately and unfortunately, my son's birthday is the 12th. Right. Okay. And it was also a little yellow note from him, handwritten, and it said, "Sorry about the delay. Here are your pictures." And I stuck a naked one of myself. No laughing. Ha ha ha. Love, Tom. It was just, that was him. And it was sitting on my counter and watching this. I had just dropped Zach off at school. My ex-husband was a pilot at the time, so I knew he was based out of Kennedy. And I was calling and realizing it was the towers, and I was calling his cell phone and hearing his voicemail over and over and over again because all the lines just were dead.
Right. Yeah.
And then not knowing where my ex-husband is, Zach's dad, and then, calling actually my friend, Mike Luongo. I'm calling him going, oh my God, and yeah, the Pedicinis. I mean, June Pedicini was married to Mark, and Stephen Kaleo was her brother-in-law, and Tommy is her brother. So she lost her husband, her brother-in-law, and her brother all in that. And with June, just a few years ago, her and I would message. She would message me because it really affected her. And she always thanked me for being Tommy's friend for so many years, and how he always talked about me and our friendship and how long it's lasted. It just, you just got to cherish those things. It's like with Brian Thomas, the people who you just think are going to be there forever. And yet, you know what? It's just so humbling and makes you feel like, God, it's like we talk about music and what we missed out on, like, having, John gone too soon, or, all these people, Jimi Hendrix, like dying too soon. And but it was people who didn't have it in their own hands and being taken away. It's just a pain that I don't think you ever really get over.
Do you find it ever, and I agree, totally agree, but do you find, like you mentioned Brian Thomas, this year was tough because this was 10 years since he passed. But I've, and every year I try to remember him on his birthday, and I try not to get so hung up on it on the anniversary of his actual death, but I always fail at it. I'm always sad that day. But I have managed to, a little bit anyway, just keep in mind the fact that how lucky I am that I had him in my life for, let's say I met him as a teenager, so, give or take 30 years. So I that's helped me, the fact that I can say, well, I had him, so many people never knew him, and that's their loss. So do you ever, are you ever able to put it into perspective, or is it just, no, you've gone too soon, this is bullshit, and I'm mad?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
All in one. I smile at the memories. I laugh. I mean, Tom had the best laugh. He did. He had the best giggle, and I can still hear it today. There's some great stories I won't get into because there's just too many. And he played trombone when, you had to pick an instrument in elementary school. Yeah. And I remember him why he picked it. We were all talking about it. We were at my house and saying who's going to pick what, and I had no choice. My mother told me I was playing clarinet, and I was like, okay, I want to play flute, but okay. So I chose clarinet, and when Tommy said, well, I'm going to play trombone, and I was like, trombone? I said, why the hell are you picking trombone? Now, my oldest brother, David, he was a trombone player, and he was very good. And he was always playing at the house. He would play like Chicago and all the other stuff. Yeah, sure. And he played in a lot of the high school pits around town because he would be hired, and he was really, really good. And I guess one day when Tommy was over, Tommy was asking him about the trombone, and my brother looked at him and goes, "This is how you get all the chicks." play trombone. So I asked him, I said, why are you picking trombone? Because I didn't know my brother told him that. He goes, they said I get all the chicks. I'm playing trombone. I was like, are you serious? And he did. He played trombone for years. He played it up until high school.
And did he get the chicks?
Yeah, he didn't do too badly. You know,
right.
he was a little on the quiet side. The older he got, he was, a little shy, but funny as hell. And, there are days like I sit there and I go, oh my God, if I had a cell phone back then when we went out karaokeing and he sang Jeremy by Pearl Jam, and he brought the house down.
Wow.
He was amazing. And he was a great gymnast. He was a great soccer player when he was younger. Everybody was in soccer or baseball or t-ball, but he was soccer. And he was just cute as a button. And he was so funny. Like one time we were sitting at lunch, it was, I think 8th grade. We were sitting in the cafeteria and he was sitting across from me. You always have your table with the same people, and Chris Guerrero was next to him, and then Tommy was there, and then we had Mike Irons, Chris Brown, and Daniel Pegalatis, and it was always our table. And Tommy, somehow Chris told a joke, and it wasn't even that funny, but Tommy was drinking, you had a choice of like milk or chocolate milk.
Right, yeah.
And he was drinking his chocolate milk. He thought it was so funny. He sprayed it all over Chris Guerrero. Now, if you remember Chris Guerrero, he was dressed to the nines every day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was so pissed. He was like ready to beat Tommy up. I had to jump across the table to make sure you didn't hit Tommy. Meanwhile, there's like just milk running out of his nose. And it was just the funniest thing. It was like, that is the stupidest joke for you to just spew out your nose. And so that makes me laugh, and I love the memories. I just we adored each other, and we had such wonderful times growing up since we were little kids. And having those memories, I look back on days and go, yeah, it's like there's not many people you can say you've known that long, but then being taken away so early and in the way that they were taken away, and what John said is so resonant. It's like they were just innocent people sitting at their desk, but then again, it shouldn't deter us from the first responders that have lost their lives and continue to get sick, and people who go into that profession, and even the pilots of those planes and the families, I remember how everybody had the American flag on their car, like afterwards.
Right.
We were so united, and we put everything else aside because this was done. There's not many times you can think about what warfare done on the United States on our own land.
Right.
And when it does happen, it seems to be a collective where it affects everybody. And if you weren't affected, there's something wrong with you. But I don't think I ever came across anybody that wasn't, and I just remember hearing his voicemail for days and days and days and calling. And it just, his roommates calling me saying they're coming over, getting his hair brushed to get some DNA to analyze, and then keeping me updated, and just knowing how close we were. And until I could even talk to Brian when the phones finally got through, not knowing what happened to him.
Were you still married at the time?
No, we had just, we divorced in 99. So, but we were on fairly good terms then. Right. And then knowing the next day is my son's 6th birthday. Right. It was so surreal. And, I get angry and I get sad. Like this morning, it's a hard day for me to sleep. So, and I just wake up in tears, and it just kills me to know how much is affected. And then to see today, what you were saying about the government and everything that is lost, like we've lost the issues.
Right.
Like talk about the issues. Like stop the name calling, stop all that, and let's stand on some principle, which I think we've, I mean, it's politics. I know so many of them, and especially living in the town I have been in, I've been part of the political arena here and backing people. But then as soon as they get the power, it's like they forget who they're representing.
Yes, agreed.
And the issues. And as both you and I know, I mean, one important thing is, the Combating Autism Act bill. And that should never have to come up, just like the coverage for the people from 9/11. It should be forever, for as long as the last one is alive that went to 9/11 and gave of themselves to help rescue and do what they needed to do, should be covered.
Right.
And those families, and, the families of people who have a child with a disability and on the ASD, they don't know, they never will know, they'll never come out. Our trust in the NIH is gone, our trust in the CDC is gone. It's like getting back to principles, but then again, it's like if you look through history, when was it ever really about only the principles and the topics that are important and standing on that and staying true, right. I'm with you. I don't like either of them. I really don't. Yeah. And for me, it's very difficult. I mean, I'm Jewish, and seeing the amount of anti-Semitism and seeing what the narrative that has been spun, and to see people walking in New York City who are supporting Hamas, like that, it's right. Like, what has happened? What is going on? Israel is our only ally in the Middle East. Right. Only one.
Yep.
Surrounded and being bombarded. And no matter how you look at it, whether you like, Netanyahu or not, but no one stopped us after 9/11 going after the people who attacked us.
Yeah.
And you can't, and there's an American hostage. No one's even bringing up the American hostage that was just, was shot in the back of his head, Hirsch. And he's American. Where is the outcry for that? Where are these people? I mean, could you imagine people after 9/11 talking about, well, the terrorists had a right to do what they did?
Yeah, right, exactly.
They'd be mauled. So it's one of the...
You take something like... like the pandemic, where that just became politicized. And it's still being used, on each side, to their advantage or as as a talking point. It's everything just becomes politicized.
Didn't Cuomo go? Didn't he just had to go to before a board just the other day?
Oh, I don't know.
About what he did during the pandemic? Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay.
See, I try not to watch the news. I just get clips because I get so upset, and I'm on blood pressure medication, and I don't want to have to take more because I watch the news, because it really, I want to freak out.
Yeah.
Like there just is no sympathy. No, I wouldn't even say sympathy. There's no empathy. The loss of empathy by the human race is disgusting, and, I wish this day people could remember that, especially, and remember the feelings, like you said, that we all had that day. And to have the debate yesterday, I think it was really bad taste.
Yeah,
because that's all they're talking about today on a day that should be remembered. I mean, it's the same way with Pearl Harbor. I mean, you just, it's carelessness in these people, and seeing them. I was, unfortunately in Texas, they don't show all the names. They won't continue the live coverage. So people will send me snippets, and show me Tommy's name being read, which they always say his name wrong, and Walter, and, and just knowing the ripple effect that things like this, what happens, and just feeling for your for a human being going through something. And seeing their faces, that's what I see, is like them standing there at the 9/11. It's like, you know what? Go away. Just go away and don't show up, because that would be more respectful.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
It really would. Just don't politicize this. This is not something. This was, you know, a whole nation mourning. So many people and so many courageous people that day that were just an everyday person and doing the right thing. You know, it just is amazing how we lose sight. It really is.
Right.
So,
It's a weird thing, because sometimes I'll look at, like the debate last night, and I'll say, well, you know, it's sometimes you just want to get back to stupid shit like that, but at the same time, you don't want to forget what's really important either. You know, so yeah, you know, so I get a little conflicted like that, but yeah, it really just comes down to being just to not forget and to be together and be united, and it's amazing to me that it's so hard to do. It's amazing to me that we still have this level of hatred, like you said, you know, people supporting Hamas, and these level of attacks. Like, I mean, all through history, we've had, you know, there's been attacks like this from one country to another. But what have we learned? You know, I don't know. It's really kind of strange that this kind of stuff is still going on in this day and age.
well, it's the old saying, you know, if you don't learn from history, it's damned to repeat itself.
Right. Yep.
So it's a you know.
And you can only hope that that's the case, because if it is history repeating itself, well, then that means, you know, hopefully we'll all be okay. You know,
I don't know. I'm looking for a bomb shelter to build in my backyard in Texas. You know, it's kind of one of those things that, at least in Oklahoma, there's land, their soil soft enough. Here in Texas, it is hard as shit, and it's like the best thing is I can do is grab my ankle and kiss my ass goodbye.
Right. That's the thing. I don't want to build a bomb shelter. I don't want to deal with this mess after it's all bombed. Yeah. I'd rather go. Yeah. I'll grab my wife and kids, and we'll all go together in a group hug. That's the way I see it. Exactly. Well, happy birthday to Zach, and I hope you guys manage to have a good day tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's cool. Guess what? It's cooling off here, so there's a Buc-ee's run in about a week.
Now, if anything's going to pick me up from this day, it's that.
That's right. That's right, buddy.
Well, you need. Well, all right. I got to figure something out, because we got to get you up here, because I need to give you a hug for sending all the Buc-ee's. But yeah, and it's been too long. I need a Carol fix, so we got to get you up here.
Yeah. Since my grandmother gone, and it's been. You know, and I don't feel safe in New York, to be honest with you. I see all the bullshit. Like, what the hell is happening in New York, man? You know?
I don't know. A lot of people say that. Not that I'm there all that often in the city, but when I'm in the city, it just looks like the same thing to me. I'm not seeing what everybody. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm.
Okay, so I'm going to send you a Star of David and a yarmulke, and I'm going to make you walk
out. Okay. All right. You got me. You got me.
And see if you notice a difference.
All right. Yeah, I have no argument to that. My apologies. You're absolutely right. But you come up and we'll just, come up to Hicksville and we'll just snuggle in Hicksville the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying. We're possibly coming up in, I don't know, hopefully maybe in the fall, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But you just, hugs to you, and keep doing what you feel is right. In your heart, and tell Mike he's got a problem. He keeps bailing, and I don't know. I think he's a little scared. Maybe he's a little gun shy. He just doesn't. He doesn't feel like his heart's in it maybe anymore. So,
he's a fragile little soul. Absolutely. But
he's bad. He's so cute. You just want to rub his head.
Well, if I had you up here, you'd be in here every day with me. But
okay, I'm not funny.
Oh, you're very funny. You're very funny, and you're wonderful, and I'm thrilled that we reconnected after all those years, and you're one of the greatest people I know, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And and again, happy birthday to Zach, really. And I think I think you're wonderful, and I appreciate the time as always, and the time to send the Buckies, all of it. You've always been very supportive of this silly little thing that we do in this little studio, and it's very much appreciated.
Wow. I appreciate that. And I wish I could say the same.
Thanks for that, but you suck.
No,
That was good. I didn't see that coming. That was good.
Oh gosh, no! I love you from the depths of the cockles of my heart. From this Jewish girl, you're one of the best. So you know that.
I do know that, and I do. I love you too, and I appreciate that very much.
Okay, and you know what? Andy Plagianis is still. I'm his number one fan.
Oh, you're the one. You're his number. You're the one, not just the number one. You're just the one.
Oh, that's right. I am a party of one.
That's right.
All right, buddy. I love you. Have a great rest of your show. Thanks for letting me talk. And
anytime.
Anybody listening, just try to make the most of today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carol.
All right, take care, buddy. Love
See
you.
you, baby. Bye. Okay, Carol Miner checking in. That was wonderful. I love talking to Carol. All right, let's see. Let me go back and see what's going on with the comments. Let's see. Chris Thomas, I also find comfort in those little signs. I know it's Brian all the time. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Chris. Fremder, when I was growing up, I was mad at everything and used to say things like, fuck the world. But now I realize how beautiful of a place the world is, and what's wrong with it are the people. Yes, I know, Ken. She is funny. She's very funny, without a doubt. Fremder, I agree. It really is the people. But there are still a lot of wonderful people out there. And, yeah, I don't watch the news as much. I'm trying to just concentrate on the good stuff that is being done out there. And Chris, his like I was talking about with Carol, I was asking her if if she thinks about her friend Tom, and and just thinks about how fortunate she was to have him in her life. I've been trying to do that with Brian. Not always successful, but I try. And I've been meaning to reach out to you a month or so ago. His kids invited me over, and we just shared some stories. His daughter, his youngest, was only 6 when he passed, so she was hoping she doesn't have a lot of memories of him, which is sad, and that's what we're talking about here. So many people lost loved ones, and a lot of people lost young ones at such a young age that it's sad. But fortunately, there's people that help out. And, it was nice to sit and talk about Brian and share some funny stories and stuff. So we really had a nice time. I was thinking about you. I think about Chris Thomas all the time as it is. But all right. So we got about 10 minutes left. Like Carol was saying, how weird it was. She got that package from her friend just the day before. How weird is that? Well, for me, my friend Rob Notaro, you guys know Rob Notaro. He comes in here sometimes. He's the one that plays like a bass line to a song, and I have to guess what song it is. So he's been in here a few times. He's an extended part of our family in here. I was with him on September 9th, 2001. We were going into the city. That's actually, like I was saying before, Facebook groups and hobbies, you make friends, you find people with similar interests. And, there's no racial boundaries, there's no bullshit. You just meet, you have people with similar interests and you become friends. And really, that's all anybody wants in life, right? Is to be accepted, to have some special people in their life, and to just have some fun, right? All this other bullshit that goes on in the world, how blind faith in our leaders teach us to hate other people, and yeah, like Carol said, then these people have no idea what they're thinking. They start supporting things they shouldn't support. It's just it's a shame that things go this way. But anyway, Rob Notaro, I met Rob through my love of music. I met him in 1986. He was working in a record store in Hicksville that I used to go to. Eventually, he owned it. He opened up his own CD place, and then we became even closer friends. I ended up working there, and not because I needed the money. I used to buy so many CDs. He would pay me in CDs, and we would just have a lot of fun. It was almost like my Cheers, like because I've never really drank, so I would hang out at Rob's CD place and just talk music and joke around all day. And he's still to this day one of my closest friends. So I was with him September 9th. We were going into the city because back then, and CDs were still around. They're still around now, but hardly anybody. I'm like the only one that buys them. But back then, throughout the 90s, there were a lot of places in the city where you can find bootleg CDs. And, big collectors that we both are, we would constantly be looking for a recording of this concert and outtakes of that album, all the nerdy stuff that we did. So anyway, we were driving into the city, and I don't remember what bridge we were on. Rob knows the city. I don't. I love the city, but I couldn't tell you how to get from one place to another. But we were on some bridge, and it was a bright, sunny day, just like 9/11 was in 2001. It was kind of like today, a bright, sunny, beautiful day. And we had this view of the Twin Towers, and it was 2 days before the attacks. and Rob is well, I don't know so much anymore, but was at that time like a semi-pro photographer. Like he it was mostly a hobby and amateur, but he once in a while did some stuff he got paid for, and he had a good eye. He takes great pictures. And he had good equipment, expensive cameras and stuff. And we're on the bridge. We see the Twin Towers. Like we had this weird view, almost like kind of looking up at them, and like it was a weird view, but it was beautiful. Again, bright sunny day, and we're talking about it. We're driving. I was driving. Rob says, "Oh, look at the Twin Towers over there." And we're looking. I go, "Wow, I said that's a cool view." And he goes, "Yeah, I wish I had my camera. I'd love to take a picture of the Twin Towers." And I remember that, Then on that Tuesday, I remember he called me up. "Are you watching the news?" "Yeah, Rob, watching the news." "Do you remember what we just said 2 days ago?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do." Yeah, very odd, very strange. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. All right, so I guess we'll start to sign off. I'm just going to say I know a lot of the firemen and first responders. I know they don't like it very much, but if you see one today, thank one. I'm wearing this shirt. This is a Levittown Fire Department shirt. That's where this show is. That's where Governor's Comedy Club is in Levittown. I am not a member. I've never been a fireman. I'm not pretending to be one. I'm just supporting. I've done a lot of murder mysteries and comedy shows with Levittown Fire Department. They were nice enough to give me this shirt a few years ago. I consider a lot of these guys my friends, and they're good people. So I support all the first responders, and thank you, John Rusiello, for everything you did. Thank you, Bobby Sen. Thank you, all the firemen and first responders. Rob Tedisco, even John Coffin, Gina's husband. He spent some time down there because they were, John is a lighting technician in movies, but like. He had a lot of lights and a lot of equipment that they used because they were working around the clock in the rescue efforts. So thank you to John. Whoever I'm leaving out, thank you to everybody that was there. Let me read the last of these comments as a fly hits my head. Sons of bitches. Fremder, it's crazy to me how people believe everything they see and hear on a rectangular screen in their living room or on a smaller one sitting on the toilet. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't believe what I saw from you sitting on a toilet. Ann, wishing you all a nice day, a day to remember, prayers. Thank you, Ann. Yeah, definitely a day to remember and definitely prayers. And, yeah, take a minute to think about all the families that were affected. And not to be a downer today, but think of the people you knew and smile. I had a lot of laughs at Walter Weaver. I did not know Carol's friend Tom Pedicini. I knew who he was. Our paths just never crossed much. When they did, it would be a quick laugh or something. But yeah, I hardly knew him. I knew his sister, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. Anne, I think her first name was. Gorgeous girl. Oh man. But but try to think about your friends and with a smile, so it's not a total horrible day. So all right, with that, I guess we'll get moving here. So all right, so let me just remind you that the Nassau County, speaking of first responders, Nassau County Police Athletic League, the Special Needs Unit, we were supposed to have our yard sale this past Saturday. Excuse me. We had some lovely items donated, and we decided to have a yard sale where all the proceeds would go to the Nassau County Police Athletic League Special Needs Unit. Well, it rained this past Saturday, so we didn't have it, so we're doing it this Saturday. It's at the Town of Oyster Bay Athletic Center, 167 South Broadway in Hicksville. It's just like maybe 200 feet south of Old Country Road in Hicksville. So stop on by, bring a few bucks, and grab an item, or just give us your money. We'd love to see you there. That's this Saturday. Starts at 10. It says 10 to 3. We'll probably clean it up more like 2:30, because Knockem Dead Comedy has a show Saturday night in Riverhead, and I have to be out in Riverhead at 4:30. So, so come join us. Also on September 14th, if you're not going to make your way out to Riverhead, come out to Governor's right here in the Giggle Room. Jeff Bosey and Friends, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Bosey and Friends. Should be a fun show. Even though Jeff will not be with Knockem Dead Comedy that night, we're still going to have a great show. But Jeff has a great show as well. Mike Keegan, Carla Okeson, Rosie Fiumara, Jonathan Barrios, Ivory Fields, Ray Goots, and then I just saw something that Tom Galati has been added to that list. I think. Maybe I read it wrong, but I could have sworn I saw that Tom Galati is going to be part of that too. Don't forget, September 27th, come join Knockem Dead Comedy at the Brokerage in Belmore. We have a hilarious audience interactive murder mystery show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please join us for that. The very next night, come on down to the Giggle Room in Levittown. Knockem Dead Comedy Game Show. Triple X Trivia. There'll be some nice trivia as well. Ivory Fields will be featuring. I'll be hosting the game show. That's going to be a lot of fun. Come join us. October 5th, the Down and Outs featuring Claudia Sherman and Gretchen Comer and Nancy Parker. I'll be hosting. Come join us in the Giggle Room Saturday, October 5th. November 2nd, also a Saturday, Gov's Comedy Club Podcast presents Clash of the Boroughs, Staten Island and Astoria, Queens. Mike Pachetti and Friends. Andrew Farella, Courtney Ortera, Sean Kearns, Johnny McDonald, and headlining New York funny man Greg Criticos. And, of course, Knockem Dead Comedy, again, doing a great murder mystery show, this time at McGuire's in Bohemia, Saturday, December 21st. So lots of great stuff going on with Governors. Go to govs.com to make your reservations, see their full schedule. Please go to govs.com, make some reservations, especially to the murder mysteries. What's happening this weekend at Governors? TJ Miller, Robert Hansen, Kunal Aurora, Daniel Torado, Billy Geyer, just some of the names you'll see on the Governor's stage. Governors in Levittown, the Giggle Room at Governors in Levittown, the Brokerage in Belmore, McGuire's in Bohemia. Go to knockemdeadcomedy.com, check out our full schedule as well, and info on how you can hire us for your private party, your corporate event, your fundraiser, whatever you got going on. Knockem Dead Comedy with our murder mysteries and game shows and custom comedy shows, whatever we got, all sorts of cool stuff. All right, and I think that covers it. Today, that's it for for Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. However, the YouTube channel, Stand Up Memories. Last Wednesday, we had Jackie the Joke Man and Peter Bales. They host a show called Stand Up Memories. Go to the YouTube page. Check out Stand Up Memories. It's a great show. Today at 5 o'clock is the premiere of my guest spot on Stand Up Memories. So go check that out. That's today at 5 o'clock. Yeah, definitely not 9/11 related, but maybe I'll have a quick laugh. It's only a half hour, I think. Something like that. So go check it out. And then we'll be back here tomorrow. Coffee with the Dog at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, me and Frank will be here. Yes, Frank. I don't think Frank has been here in weeks, but Frank is returning tomorrow. Frank is going to be the musical guest. We don't have any other musical guests joining us tomorrow. Frank is going to sit here and play, and then he'll actually get to speak a little bit. And then, of course, Friday, me and Andy will be here. Tomorrow night is Circling the Drain at 7. Primal Scream at Nick Greystone tomorrow night at 9. So, and then Don. Oh, speaking of 9/11, this week on Friday, Donversations, Don will be talking to comedian and retired New York City fireman John LaRocchia, who's doing a show on Strong Island tonight for 9/11 as well. He's a good man and a very funny comedian, so go support that and go watch our friends over at Strong Island. All right, I'm rambling. That's enough. We're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us today.